Hey guys, today we're going to be talking a little bit about color and get a little introduction to watercolors as well. Alright, so we're going to start this project as we do with so many others by cleaning up. So you want to make sure that you have a clean palette. You can just run it under water or use a damp cloth or towel. And you also want to start with clean water. The challenge today is going to be to use only 3 colors. So we're going to use the primary colors, yellow, red, and blue. We can make any color with these colors. So that's what we're going to be doing today when we create our color wheel. A couple of things to note when you're using watercolors. First of all, more water equals less color. And if you can just use a little tiny bit of water, you will get more of a saturated color. Second of all, if you have 2 pools of color, one pool will bleed into the other pool if they touch. So be careful to keep them separate. However, if you did have a pool that dried, you can feel free to paint on top of it and you'll have a translucent version of it underneath, but you should still be good to be able to paint on top of it. Another great thing about watercolor is if you get a little too much color on there while it's still wet, you can just dab it with a tissue or paper towel and you should be able to take up a good amount of the color. You also want to take note of what kind of brush you're using. If you need to get into small spaces, you're going to want to use a thinner brush. And if you're trying to cover a lot of area, you're going to use a thicker brush. For this project, you're probably going to want to try to find a thinner brush. Another great thing about watercolors is it creates gradients really, really easily. And you can kind of change things as you go. For lack of a better term, no pun intended, they are pretty fluid. So if I go ahead and create some dots here, I have one shape. However, if I just put a drop of water over top of each of them, they bleed into this kind of tie-dye effect. So what you're going to do before you even start on the color wheel is just take a piece of paper and just practice, play around with the watercolors, get a feel for how they work before you even get started. This project is going to look a whole lot easier when I do it because I have a little bit more experience probably. However, don't be surprised if you get a little frustrated by it. So this practicing and playing part seems silly, but it is imperative. I like to use these small cups because I change them out frequently, but I also like the idea that if I accidentally knock it over, it's spilling such a small bit of water that it's not going to be a huge problem. So today I'm going to get started by using this template that I created, and basically I created it to fit perfectly into the pocket-sized sketchbook that we made earlier the other week. So we're going to go ahead and basically just trace all the lines marked out on this template. I don't need to get the diagonal lines too crazy straight because I am going to go over them with a ruler later. So next I'll go ahead and play a great game of fill in the blank where I just try to connect those circles. Alright, let's get ready to label this circle. So we're going to start with the primary colors. I will start by writing red on the outside ring, and then I'm going to skip 3 spaces. So you should have 3 empty spaces, and then go ahead and write yellow, and then skip another 3 spaces and write blue. They should all be evenly spaced. You'll see that I messed that up. I'll come back and fix that later. And then we're going to write the secondary colors in between. So between red and yellow, you want to write orange. You can label that as a secondary color. Between yellow and blue, you want to put green. Also label that as a secondary color. And then between blue and red, you want to put purple. Lastly, we are going to put in the tertiary colors in those empty spaces in between. When you write a tertiary color, you always start with the primary. So for instance, between red and orange, we are going to write red-orange. But then when we skip the next one and we're between orange and yellow, we're going to write yellow-orange, not orange-yellow, because we want to start with the primary color. And make sure you go through and label those colors as tertiary colors as well. Feel free to take a look at the example if that's going to be helpful for you.